Hello and welcome back to my kitchen. I know that some of you are interested in learning the basics of cookery, so today I'm making the stuff of life, bread. Just now I went to get my flour. I like to buy it directly from the mill, but these are getting rare nowadays, so you may have to buy it from the grocer. Good bread only has 4 ingredients: flour, yeast, water and salt, so it pays to use good flour. A lot of British-grown wheat is what's called soft, very low in gluten, the protein which makes bread rise and gives it its structure. So most bakers use flour from abroad. But I don't mind a softer flour. Local flour is what I grew up with. The flour you'll buy in a grocer is probably roll-milled using big steel rollers. It's very fine and very white, but it's not as good for you because all that processing removes the wheat germ, which is where all the good stuff sits. Stone ground flour is, I think, better. Before I get started, I need to set my yeast going. I'm going to make a well in the flour. I have about 2 pounds here. Then I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of dried yeast and a little warm water. Some people like to add sugar, but I don't think it's necessary, unless you're making sweet buns, of course. I'm going to sprinkle a little flour over the top. Then I can see when it starts to wake up. And the salt I'm going to put round the outside. If this touches the yeast now, it will kill it. I'm going to leave this now, just for a little while. Have a cup of tea and talk to you about flour. This is the flour I'm using. It's whole wheat flour. It's still got a lot of the bran in it. See? You can still see the little flecks. You'll remember it. That's what we had to eat during the war. It was legal requirement to keep the bran in. Well, it made it cheaper and a lot less wasteful, and it's good for you. Nobody liked it at first. I know that some people said it upset their stomach, made them windy. But I like it, and it's what you can get at the mill. This is white flour. Well, you're used to that. It's white because it's been very finely sieved and treated to take all the bits out. Oh, and this is bran. I feed it to my chickens. My yeast is looking pretty healthy. So now all I need to do is to mix it all together and add enough water to make a nice, soft, but not sticky dough. You might be wondering about my yeast. This dried yeast is new. It came in just before the war. It's made making bread much easier because it lasts longer and it's easier to store. When I was younger, we used German yeast or compressed yeast. That came in blocks and needed to be kept cool. I once knew a cook who used it as a face pack and mixed it with warm water. It is very good, but you don't know how old it is. And so you need to set it in some water to see if it's still active. That's become a habit, I suppose, which is why I still do it with the dried yeast. Before the German yeast, which must be easily over 100 years ago, people would have to go to the brewer to buy yeast, or they'd have a yeast pot. Some people would make their own yeast using potatoes, but that does mean that they might get wild yeast in it, which can be sour. I suppose if you've got nothing else, that will do. But nobody really wants a sourdough. Now I have a smooth dough, I need to knead it to make it supple and a little bit stretchy. By hand, this could take about 20 minutes. Of course, if you could afford it, you could get a mixer. The magazines are full of the Kenwood mixer, named after the man who invented it. I think with one of those, it can take about 10 minutes. Everybody eats bread, but I don't think we eat as much as we used to on account of some foods being cheaper. But that's not always been the case. In the olden days, a long time ago, white bread was really expensive. All that grinding and sieving. The poor people ate brown bread. That's never been like that in my time. When I was working in Kensington, everybody ate white bread, even the poor. Mrs. Nicholson, who I worked for in London, she did eat brown bread. She said it was healthier. But I think it was because everyone else was eating white bread, and so it wasn't special. I didn't make bread when I was working. Everyone had it delivered in. Even here at Abbott's Hall, the Longs have it delivered. I don't make it much now. I go to the baker, which you can do so long as you trust them and you know what's in their bread. Baking day, which is Friday, is more for cakes and such. There. I'm going to cover it with a wet cloth and leave it for a few hours while I pop into town. I have a library book to return. Now that my dough has risen, I need to shape it. I'm going to make 2 1-pound loaves. So I'm going to divide these into 2, give each a knead, and then put them into these well-greased loaf tins. I like to use loaf tins because it makes the bread easier for slicing for sandwiches and for putting under the grill for toast. But if you go to the baker's, you can get all sorts of shapes of loaves. From the cob, which is the round one, to the cottage, which is also round, but it has that smaller round one on the top. At harvest time, they also make a harvest loaf, which sometimes has a salt glaze on it, if it's going to go on display, to stop the mice. There. I'm going to cover these over and leave them for about half an hour. My loaves are ready to bake. If I press my finger in, the dimple fills really slowly. I'm going to slash them and I'm going to put them in a very hot oven for about 40 minutes. My loaves look lovely. I have left them uncovered to cool. If you don't want them crusty, you could keep them covered up. If you really don't like them crusty, you could use lard when you're making them. I was always told that you get indigestion if you eat bread hot, but I think that might have been my mother trying to stop us eating them. Fresh bread is so irresistible. So I have let these cool. But I might have a little slice just now, with my own butter, of course, and some of this jam, which is made from pears from the estate. There's nothing quite like bread straight from the oven. Except perhaps maybe toast, but that's a different kind of pleasure. This is perfect. Crusty and nutty. And of course, the butter is wonderful.